Hi, welcome to today's podcast. And I would like to share with you today about how to use Reiki to really experience the limitlessness of your own soul, your own divine presence. And this is something that was not really taught to me by any of my Reiki teachers. They were all wonderful teachers, but this is really something that evolved out of my own, what I call divine curiosity, the curiosity of the soul to explore itself and know itself in various ways. So at the second degree of Reiki, again, to use this technique, you would have to have the second degree of Reiki. And if you have that, you can just use this podcast to become inspired to use this technique. If you don't have the second degree of Reiki, then you can just hold on to this memory and become inspired to get the second degree. And once you have the second degree, then you can use this technique. So the technique involves using the Hunshaze Shonen symbol for sending distant healing. And usually when I was taught how to use that symbol for distant healing, it was pretty much using it to send to other people. And there's nothing wrong with that. That's a very valid way to be using Reiki. You can send it distantly through time and space to heal other people. But I also became very curious about sending it backwards and forwards in time, which my teacher did talk a little bit about how to send it forward in time to potentially stressful events, how to send it backwards in time to different traumas. But in my own curious way, I began to also explore how to really use Reiki to explore my own soul. So things that I would send to included, but are not limited to, sending Reiki backwards in time to my own birth, to the instance of my own birth in this life, sending it backwards in time to my time in the womb before I was born, sending it forward in time to the moment of my own death, which may sound a bit eerie for some people, but we are all going to die at some point. And so in my vision, why not have as much divine healing light waiting for me in that moment as possible? So I've often sent healing to my own death and gone beyond this life, sending healing backwards in time to that moment when I first split off from the divine in my very first lifetime, my very first experience of coming into being as an individual soul. So these are all things that you can send to. And the way you would do that is just, articulate what you're sending to it by naming it 3 times. So for example, if I'm sending to my own death, I would just simply say, my own death in this life, my own death in this life, my own death in this life, Hunshaze Shonen, Hunshaze Shonen, Hunshaze Shonen, Chokure, Chokure, Chokure. And then I would just repeat that process over and over for as long as I wanted to continue the session. And this way of exploring the timeline of your own soul has many positive benefits. One is just simply the psychic benefit of seeing things in future time. For example, when I've sent forward in time, every time I send, I have always sent to myself at the moment of death and always sense my son being there with me as I'm in a hospital bed, okay? And even before my son was ever born, I would always have this sense of sending forward in time to my own death and feeling the presence of my son, who hadn't even been born yet, being there with me at the moment of my death. A few years ago, my son, as I'm recording this, is 5 years old. And a few years ago, before he was born, and my wife and I were guessing whether he was going to be a boy or a girl, I knew he was going to be a boy, just from my experience of sending forward in time and psychically sensing the presence of a son with me when I died, rather than a daughter. My wife thought he was going to be a girl. But needless to say, when you're sending Reiki this way, if you're psychic like I am, and you can get different intuitive hits on what's going to be happening for you at these different points in time. So sending it, whether it's to a meeting forward in time, sending it forward in time to an event such as your own death or some other life event, can also provide you with information that's very important and useful for you. Also, another good thing for just sending Reiki out, into the timelines of your own experiences is it gives you a sense of being the infinite presence of your soul, of how big your presence is far beyond this life. And when you're able to embrace that sense of your own limitlessness, it allows you to let go of things that might seem petty or not that important when you examine the grander scheme of how expanded we are as individual souls. So that's another reason I like to use this technique. There are times when I've gone beyond sending just to myself and just to my own soul's experience. I've also used this technique to literally explore the universe. I've sent Reiki at times to the event of the Big Bang, to the birth of this universe. And again, from that, have a sense of the experience of what that event was like. I've also sent Reiki to different planets, different stars, different moons, even into black holes. And when I send into black holes, I've often sent to Cygnus X1, which is a black hole. And when sending to that, I'm getting a sense of that warping of time and space that occurs in a black hole. So again, these are things that are just expanding beyond the typical framework of sending a healing directly to another person, but using the Hunxiaozation and symbol to literally expand your awareness beyond time and space, beyond this life, beyond even your human form. And it's a way to really deepen your own path of spiritual awakening by experiencing firsthand through the beautiful energy of Reiki how truly limitless you are. So I want to thank you for being part of this podcast experience. And again, if you want to learn more about me, my name is Brett Bevell. My website is on the Soulvana, my Soulvana bio, so you can check that out if you'd like. And if you don't have Reiki, then you may want to consider taking the course that's coming up soon, Mastering Reiki for your own personal empowerment. And I look forward to seeing you soon. Take care. Bye-bye.